He might stop him, man. I ain't gonna hold you, man.
Canelo Alvarez got one of the best chins.
Yeah, but hey, listen, he ain't been hit by Terence though. Terence can punch, man. You know what I mean? I know he's been in with some of the great punches and all that, but them punches gotta be placed right. You know what I mean? And Terence placed some punches, man.
I can totally see Crawford outboxing Canelo, like bad, making him look like taking him straight to school. But again, I do not see Crawford stop.
Speed over Canelo. I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Would it be more of a cat and mouse? The reality is Canelo does put people out, from Kirkland to Amir Khan to just.
Don't
obviously,
I'm just saying, man.
No, but he's not.
He might stop you, man. I ain't going to hold you, man. Can I risk one of the best chins? Yeah, but listen, he ain't been hit by TZ, though. Tur can punch, man. You know what I mean? I know you've been in with some of the great punches and all that, but them punches got to be placed right, you know what I mean? And Terence placed some punches, man. I can totally see Crawford outboxing Canelo like bad, making him look like taking him straight to school. Pushed again. I do not see Crawford stopping Canelo. Crawford and Canelo are still getting more heated, and Crawford is still pushing the idea of how Canelo is no challenge to him. The tension between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez has only escalated, and it was evident in the brawl in their recent face-off. For Crawford, a calculated move to disrupt Canelo's stronghold on Mexican fan support has already begun. The Nebraska native, known for his methodical approach inside the ring, has extended that strategy to the promotional game, openly questioning Canelo's status as the undisputed face of Mexican boxing. This is a bold play, one that draws inspiration from Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s well-documented psychological warfare, but with Crawford's own twist. I feel I got the speed over Canelo. I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power, I got the better skills, boxing skills. Would it be more of a cat-mouse? The reality is Canelo does put people out, from Kirkland to Erkan to just obviously I'm just saying, man. No, but he's not Kovalev. Canelo has always wrapped himself in the Mexican flag, both literally and figuratively. His pride in his heritage is a key part of his brand, a connection to his homeland that has fueled his rise to global superstardom. He wears it on his sleeve, almost daring critics to question his place in Mexican boxing legends. But now, Crawford seems to have sensed a vulnerability in this seemingly ironclad bond. For years, critics have debated Canelo's place among the all-time greats, pointing out that his career, while impressive, has been carefully curated with a keen eye on business as much as legacy. This is where Crawford's approach gets interesting. He has not only targeted Canelo's fighting style and record, but has also begun to chip away at the very core of his support, his connection to the Mexican people. In a move reminiscent of the mind games Mayweather once played against Oscar de la Hoya, Crawford recently released a line of merchandise that features his image against the backdrop of the Mexican flag emblazoned with the phrase Viva Mexico. This is more than just a merchandise drop. It's a statement, a direct challenge to Canelo's claim as the torchbearer for Mexican boxing. It is also a calculated effort to split the Mexican fan base, aligning himself with those who perhaps see Canelo as a businessman first and a fighter second. Canelo's detractors, a group that exists despite his immense popularity, often point to his selective matchmaking and perceived avoidance of certain challengers. This segment of the fan base remembers the likes of Julio Cesar Chavez, Salvador Sanchez, Ruben Alvarez, and Juan Manuel Marquez. Fighters who they argue took on all comers, fought for legacy above payday, and defined Mexican toughness in the ring. For these fans, Canelo's career, while undeniably successful, lacks the grit and purity of the greats who came before him. I'm going with Terence Crawford, you know. Big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. You know, it ain't no disrespect to Canelo, but I might have said this the last couple. I am not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You got to show me that you can beat him. Crawford's new t-shirts are a direct appeal to this crowd, positioning himself as the fighter willing to take on any challenge irrespective of the financial stakes. This is a critical point in the pre-fight narrative where psychological edges can be carved out long before the first bell rings. Crawford, known for his relentless pressure and ability to break down his opponents both physically and mentally, is bringing that same energy to the marketing of this fight. It's a bold tactic, one that risks alienating the very fan base he hopes to sway. But it also positions him as the underdog with a chip on his shoulder. A role he has thrived in throughout his career. Along my career, I've been criticized and people have taken credit away from me just to try to diminish my accomplishments just off of pure hate. So what would they be able to say with me going up two-weight classes if Canelo become undisputed again and I beat Canelo? What could they say? They'll say something. But yeah, they're going to make but for all the theatrics, the financial realities of this matchup loom large. According to multiple sources, Canelo stands to make upwards of $150 million for this fight, a figure that dwarfs any previous payday for Crawford. This massive financial incentive proves just how significant this bout is for both men. However, it also adds another layer to the narrative. Critics argue that Canelo's recent performances suggest a fighter more concerned with maximizing earnings than proving himself as the pound-for-pound best. Start sizing him up and I'm like, alright, well, Canelo 57, my arm's longer. Yeah, he's strong. I'm strong. It'd be to me skill for skill, right? You Canelo not the biggest 168 fighter. So, I just starve. Even veteran promoter Bob Arum, never one to mince words, recently admitted that he would hesitate to pay for this fight, given Canelo's perceived decline in motivation. If they're each going to fight, really fight. I think it's terrific. It's very interesting. But again, if I had to pay money to watch that fight, I wouldn't do it because Canelo has shown in his last few fights that he's just a businessman. Arum stated. What do you think of Crawford-Canelo? There's a lot of talk about that. I think Canelo wipes the floor with him. I love Crawford. I told you when Crawford and Spence that Crawford would beat the hell out of him, but Canelo was a different proposition. It's an interesting fight, but I think there's only one winner. What fight would make he wipes the floor with him? Why is it because of the weight difference? Because Canelo is he's not in there to entertain the public. He just takes the big check. But again, if Canelo really fights, because it's safe to say Terence always fights, so that it could be a very good and interesting fight. This sentiment echoes the concerns of many fans who feel that Canelo, once a ferocious combination puncher with a chip on his shoulder, has become a calculated operator content to cash in on his stardom. In contrast, Crawford has cultivated a reputation as a no-nonsense fighter, one who enters the ring with bad intentions and fights as if every bout is a referendum on his legacy. Crawford to win this fight. Crawford is very talented, great footwork, great combinations, and a very strong fighter. Facing him off, he's actually the taller man. So, I'm leaning towards Crawford now. I switched my opinion. I think Canelo looked too slow, too flat-footed, one punch at a time. I don't think that's going to be enough for him to beat Crawford. The cover is too fast, too strong, just too. However, there is a significant physical challenge in this matchup that cannot be ignored. Weight has been a consistent talking point with many questioning whether Crawford, who has spent most of his career at lightweight and welterweight, can handle the power and physicality of a natural super middleweight like Canelo. This is not just a matter of adding muscle. It is a fundamental shift in how Crawford will have to approach the fight. It's a leap that has proven disastrous for others. Gerald Charlo, for example, was thoroughly dominated when he moved up 2 weight classes to challenge Canelo, serving as a stark reminder of the risks involved in such a move. Let me tell you what I think should be gone. The notion that Terence Bud Crawford should move up 3 weight classes, 21 pounds to fight Canelo Alvarez. He's entirely too small. Jamal Charlo already proved. Amir Khan, a fighter who has faced both Crawford and Canelo, offered a sobering perspective on the challenges Crawford will face. When you start putting weight on and you go up a weight and you fight these guys like Canelo, you're going to have to spar heavier guys to get ready for that anyway. So, you're going to be taking a lot of wear and tear anyway. Khan noted, you're going to have to add a few pounds. Does he need to put that pressure on himself? I think Canelo just outboxes. No, doesn't have boxing, but I think just outpowers him and beats him to the punch. And you do give Cano does have some sort of like decent speed as well. So, I think Canelo just wins that fight easy. Be a knockout. Could be, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. This is the point of the physical challenge for Crawford. He has shown the ability to adapt to different styles and overcome physical disadvantages in the past. But moving up to face a proven power puncher in Canelo is a different proposition altogether. But it's this very challenge that may be what draws him to the fight. It's a high-risk, high-reward proposition. One that could either cement his legacy as one of the greatest fighters of his generation or expose the limitations of his physical frame. Canelo Alvarez vs. Terence Crawford has drawn predictions from some of the biggest names in boxing, with opinions ranging from absolute confidence in a Canelo knockout to cautious optimism about Crawford.